Okay, I am Dr. Andrea Labuti. I'm here with Helena and Joao Carlos, and this is Q&A number 4. Hello, Helena, how are you? Hello, Joao.
Hello, Andy. It's wonderful to be with you again, and it's wonderful to be with all those who are listening to us once again and following our Q&A.
Great. So we're going to talk about different things today. We've got quite a few questions here. Questions like, how can I connect with my son? Why is my son not sleeping? Why does my child jump around? So different types of behavior. But before we get into those questions, I'm going to talk about an experience that I had yesterday, which was really, really sad. And I happened to reach out to Helena and ask for Joao's input. So my golden retriever, Abby, who was 9 years old, died yesterday, or I should say passed on, because I know her soul doesn't die. And for all of you parents out there that have children that love their pets, their dogs, their cats, I thought this would be useful for you to hear Joao's perspective on the passing of my beloved golden retriever, which was really hard on me and my children. She really was my best friend. She was 9 years old, and she had bone cancer. She actually had a rear limb amputated January 3rd, and then hemangiosarcoma, which is just spread through her body. She had tumors everywhere. And I have to say, before we talk about what Joao responded, I told her in this journey, because I wasn't sure if I should amputate her leg, but if I didn't amputate her leg, then I would have had to put her down in January. And I found a holistic vet that does homeopathy and had, good suggestions. So we worked together, and, her life was amazing in these 3 months. So after the healing of the surgery, she was able to run around and jump and go to the beach and fetch her tennis ball just as she always had. And I told her, I said, when it's your time to go, you need to give me a clear sign, because I am not going to do it unless I have a clear sign. I'm not going to, put her down. So everything was great until, a couple weeks ago, she started slowing down a little. Long story short, the night before last, she started really showing signs of distress and pain. And by the morning, she could not stand up. So it was completely obvious to me that it was time to say goodbye to her yesterday, because she was crying and couldn't stand up. So I asked Helena if she could, just get Joao's insights onto the passing of my beautiful dog, and, a better, clearer perspective. And I think it would be helpful to share with my children as well, even though I know that she's in heaven and that she's in a beautiful place. It still helps to get some input from somebody like Joao.
Yes, Andy. Well, I didn't really need to ask Joao about it, because as soon as we got home, Joao opened his notebook and began writing.
Aww.
And I can tell you that it's the first time that I have the soul doctor, or we have the soul doctor giving us input and his perspective on pets. So I will start right away reading the message which he has for you. He says, "Dear Andy, Abby was a beautiful soul who now has transcended the physical body. Weep not, for her soul wishes to evolve into other forms and dimensions. She left this plane filled with love and gratitude. Plant a tree in her honor, and know in this plane we are all part of the whole. Like a tree, she is rooted and a physical body back to earth. Her love spread out like branches in a tree, and her existence as new consciousness is free from limitation and on a new path to evolution."
So thank you. Thank you for that. I think that was really beautiful, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with my children, and I am definitely going to plant a tree. So thank you for that. Yeah. All right, let's head in. What's that?
Thank you for all the love that Abby shared with you and your family.
Yeah, she was, as many of you parents that have pets know, they are part of our family, and they help us through so much and bring so much joy. So let's jump into some of the questions that we have. I think that this is going to be a really good and powerful Q&A. all of this process has been so good for me to just keep reminding myself. That's why we're doing a series of these. It just keeps reminding me about where to focus and how to help my child and how to help myself. So grateful to be doing this with you. All right, first question. How can I connect with my son, heal him from my parenting mistakes, and support and guide him in love and joy so that he may live the best life possible?
Dear Mom, first of all, thank you in advance. And now let me start by telling you the following. Your son loves you deeply and desires to reach you as much as you wish to connect with him, but there are steps to be taken before reaching that stage. In the first place, in order to truly connect with someone you wish, it is of utter importance that you learn to connect with your essence and inner being and learn to thrive on the energy of love and gratitude for all that you are, have, and create. Listen to your inner support system by paying attention to your emotions. When you ask me how you can help your son and heal him from your parenting mistakes, you are coming out from the energy of fear and guilt. Of course, along our lives, there are moments of regret for wrongdoings, but we cannot dwell on it forever. Connect with your inner self and ask for the energy of compassion and forgiveness. When you do this and feel that you have open space for healing yourself, visualize your son and talk to him heart to heart. Tell your son also, as many times you can, by looking at him in the eyes, that you love him and are grateful for all his blessings, for all his teachings, despite you not having at all times understood him. When the energy of fear and guilt are clear, there is a new path to be followed with mutual joy and fulfillment. Blessings, João Carlos.
So, that message is so wonderful in so many ways. And where he talks about connecting with your inner self and ask for the energy of compassion and forgiveness, I think that's a really important point to make, because we do as parents have so many regrets and guilt. I never should have done this. I never should have done that. What if I tried this? What if I didn't do that? And, the message here is, yes, we're human beings and we are going to have regrets along the way, but don't dwell in that fear, that fearful energy too long, that worrisome energy. Do what you have to do in terms of realize that it's there, because yes, you may have felt like you made a mistake, but then it's time to really move into compassion and forgiveness. I was doing the best I could. I would never do anything to harm my child. I was operating at a place that I thought was best at that time, or I was doing what I thought was best for him or her. So I really like the compassion and forgiveness directed at ourselves answer. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I totally agree with you, Andy. And I also think that a very important issue that is brought up in this message is the word healing. How can I heal him? We are always looking outside ourselves to find answers to healing someone. Whereas João points out once again that in order for any healing to occur in our lives, the healing has to start within ourselves. So we have to heal ourselves from all our wounds. And when we really heal ourselves within, of course, the healing will spread outwards.
Absolutely.
So that's a very important message that João leaves to us parents, because we're always very much fixed on the idea of fixing our children, healing them, getting out of autism or whatever affliction they have. And the message is always look first, heal yourself first.
Right. And that's just something I think that we just have to continue to be reminded. And I love how he answers these questions and always points us in that direction, but from a different angle, from a different perspective or angle. And that leads me to what the mom further asked some questions. And these are, all of us as parents have these questions. What type of diet should I feed my son? And, I'll read it because it's just a single sentence. Mom, diet is more than what you eat. When preparing food, put in love and set intentions of health and well-being. So that, again, is a really powerful message, because there's a gazillion different diets out there, for grown-ups and for children with special needs. And really figuring out how to hone in on the right one. I think what he's saying is it doesn't matter as much. I mean, surely it does matter, like you don't want to eat non-organic food every single day and GMO and all that other stuff. But rather than stressing so much on the particulars of the diet, putting intentions and cooking with love is more powerful. I think that's what he's saying.
Yes, and when he says diet is more than what you eat, I think he's also referring that João always mentions we are more than the physical body. So we also have to be careful with what thoughts we are feeding ourselves with.
Yes. Yes.
So
absolutely.
I think that's also very important. I think that is one thing that is trying to focus too. It's not only food that keeps us alive, and helps us to have better lives, or better balanced lives. We have to watch what other things we're putting into our bodies, because we are more than our physical bodies. We have subtle bodies too. So we have to keep in mind what we're feeding those with.
Yeah, and that's, again, in this day and age, is very challenging, although it is beginning to get easier, because there are so many people that are jumping on the, that new thought movement of, positive thinking. But I think it's more than just the positive thinking. I think it's probably even more important to not beat ourselves up also, and not condemn ourselves and criticize ourselves. And we're so conditioned to, to automatically knee jerk, oh, I'm so stupid, I can't believe I did that, and really get down on ourselves. So it's really, really refreshing to hear him talk about that too, in terms of, mind, body, spirit.
Also feed ourselves on the contexts that we move ourselves in. So there, besides toxic food, there are toxic people, there are toxic environments.
Yep, and absolutely. Absolutely.
We have to see what are we feeding ourselves with.
Absolutely. Good. Okay, the next, she wanted further clarity, or no, she asked another question. What school shall I place him in? And I guess she's currently homeschooling her child. And he says, schooling does not go hand in hand with rigidity, which is what our public education is like, by the way. That's my own aside. Education for autistic children does not mean conforming to rigid mainstream schools. And we've talked quite a bit about schooling, I think, or not so much I guess you could say it's not so much the school that's important as the teachers that are there, but also the educational system and the way kids are educated, rows and rows of desks being lectured at all day. Clearly, João has said, that is not the way to go. And it's pretty obvious when you think about what your child is going through, if they're sitting at a desk, chained to that desk all day being talked at. It's just not the way our kids are going to respond to education.
Yes, I also think he's trying to say that school goes beyond the walls. We've been programmed or formatted that if our child goes to a certain building, institution, we leave him there, is given over to the teachers, to the state, then that he is going to be educated. That does not mean that he won't be educated, but it isn't the sole behavior of leaving a child in a school as an institution that is going to make him be educated and have schooling, because at least the schools that we have, they are, most of them, not prepared in their rigidity to cater for the needs of these special children. They have other needs. And when I say special children, I'm not necessarily meaning autistic children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the children of nowadays that are many times referred to as children of a new era. The children who are born today, they have different needs. They want other ways of gaining knowledge, of constructing knowledge, as João says. So we as parents have to move away a little, and even the state maybe reformulate, although that has been done in certain countries, where schools are moving away from these patterns of rigidity and of having different subjects as different drawers apart. When knowledge, it's having knowledge from different spheres which come together to create a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really much farther reaching than just the walls of the school. So yeah, good points. Very good points.
Something that is also very important is the people who are at the school and the way they conceive education.
Yes.
Because if they still conceive education in old patterns as they used to, then of course these children are going to have great difficulties of adapting, and many times they're going to fall out, not because they lack intelligence or cognitive development. They're going to drop out or fall out because their needs are not being catered.
Yes, absolutely. Like social emotional needs and just, you know, their self-esteem. That's the first thing I think about. Like the self-esteem of kids in public schools is not really catered to at all. It's all about the test taking and getting high marks and A's and whatever, you know, and those kids that can fit into that mold do have higher self-esteem, but the majority of kids that are not feeling worthy or not feeling as intelligent as are really being underserved. So that's unfortunate. All right, so shall we move on to the next question? Okay. Is my 9-year-old son happy about the biomedical interventions, therapy, and programs we are doing? Oh, okay. I have a son. So this is more information about her question. I have a son who is turning 9 years old in a few weeks. He is sweet, intelligent, and hardworking. From day one, we have always acted based on the assumption that he heard and understood everything said in front of him. We do a lot of biomedical interventions, and he is always resistant, but we have persisted for more than 4 years now. I would love to know if he knows and feels that he is loved. Is he happy with his program, including all the therapies and interventions, and the interventions now and the ones we have tried? Does he like the people on his team? Who does he like the most? Does he feel that the biomedical interventions have helped him become a better version of himself? Okay, and you can read Joao's response.
Yes, we're moving on to the answer to those questions. Dear Mom, first and foremost, how wonderful it is to know that there are people who continue to enhance the potential of individuals with autism. Your son is a beautiful soul, and can go a long way, provided he has the necessary conditions. Your son is a young boy with a sparkle in the eye and no doubt happy. As for people who work with him, not all are on the same page, and that can sometimes be stressful. Pay attention to his reactions to certain people, for his eyes will let you know as they become dimmer and his skin complexion tighter. Therapies are good when balanced in terms of quantity and quality, and so are biomedical interventions. Once again, pay close attention to his body language and your intuition. He is happy, but more does not always mean better. Blessings, João Carlos.
That has so many good nuggets of information in there also, going back to as for the people who work with him. And and how do we know if it's really not working? And he gives us some good information. So, look at him, look at his body language. Are his eyes like, is he checking out? Are his eyes dimmer? And even his skin complexion tighter. So I guess that's just like attention, so you just have to really look at your child, look at their body language, just try to really tune into what does he look like when he's stressed and frustrated, and then tune into what he looks like when he's happy and free.
I think this piece of information is very, very important, especially when it comes to nonverbal children.
Yes.
Sometimes we think, okay, he does not communicate. I do not know what's going on. How does he feel? And I feel that João gives us hints. So we have to relearn how to read one another, and even how to read ourselves. Once again, we have to look inward, pay attention to our body signs. When we eat something, our body responds if we listen attentive. When we are with someone, when we meet someone for the first time, sometimes we have that feeling, okay, or not such a good feeling. We have to pay attention to those things. And when it comes, João is also telling us, pay attention not only to your feelings, but to the feelings of your child. How can you know? Look at his skin complexion, look at his eyes. There's so many signs you can get as to the way the child is being accepted, is being treated at school.
Yes.
So I think that's a wonderful piece of information for us all. We have to be attentive to the signs. Sometimes we focus too much on verbal expression, and our focus is so intense that we do not pay attention to all the other signs that are coming along.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a good, here's a good analogy of something that just happened with me. So, I'm starting this Acton Academy, which is a new school to educate children in the form that we think is more valuable. But the owner, the original founder of the original Acton Academy, I went to the owners conference, and we were asking, how do you recruit the right families? How do you find the right parents and children that really buy into the philosophies of your program? Because philosophically, there's some differences in terms of how the school is run. So he said something really important. He said, well, I'll tell you what, every single time, and there hasn't been many times, but he said, every single time the hair on the back of my neck stands up when I meet somebody, I should always listen to that, because every single time that happened, and it may have only happened 2 or 3 times, that family was a disaster for whatever reason. They were just, either being truthful about them buying into the philosophy or whatever. So it just became a very strained and struggled relationship. So when the hair on the back of your neck stands up, then listen to that. So that's, I think that's true. And we all have had that experience, right? We've all had that experience when we've met people, I have when I've walked into places. So super important.
Sometimes we discard those messages that we get.
Yes.
And it's important that we start paying attention to these nudges.
Yes. Yes. And that's the intuition that João talks about. So just tune into that more, and, and you'll get better at it. Okay.
And I also think there's another very important piece here in this message is regarding the quantity of therapies that children have, because I think that as parents, I know I went through that also. I wanted to put my child, or I did put João in all the therapies I managed to put, and we're always looking, like you say, for the silver bullet.
Sure.
This therapy is going to help, it's going to build on something else, it's going to build on, and we want to reach out for all the therapies. Of course, therapy is extremely important, but sometimes we have to stop and once again to measure or think, are all these different therapies that we are giving our children really catering for the child's needs, or shouldn't we stop and once again pay attention to how the child is reacting to the different therapies and sort of give more energy, give more time to those in which the child is blooming or blossoming more, and just let things evolve and not and silence a little our mind chatter, you know, of guilt. Shouldn't I be doing this? Shouldn't I try this out?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to age if this isn't done at a certain age. I think we spend a lot of time, at least I did as a mom at an earlier age of myself and of my son. We're always a little fearful and a little with guilty feelings. If we are doing the best, giving the best, shouldn't we give more? 24 hours aren't enough for all the therapies
Right,
that we need to do with them. And
yeah.
I think what Joan says is, okay, stop saying a lot or more does not necessarily mean better. So
Right.
I think you should pay some attention to that piece
I
of
think,
information.
yeah, and I think that's really good advice, because then it takes some of the pressure and stress off of parents. Like, you know, you now have permission to take the stress and pressure off of yourselves. Pick one, you know, pick something that seems to be working. Pick the right therapist, for example. That's far more important than whatever the therapy is, but make sure, hands down, you find the right person to be interacting with your child. And then whatever the therapy is that you decide, you know, whether it's for academic or social or physical, you know, fitness, whatever it is, just make sure that you have the right person and just relax into that versus the quantity, I think is what you're saying.
Yes, because sometimes we take our child. I can recall it, an experience I had with Joan. He must have been around about 7 or 8. He was doing psychotherapy for almost 2 years. It was a bit of a sacrifice for Joan to have those therapies, although the psychotherapist was a very, I think she was a great professional. She was also good-hearted, but she wasn't managing to get across to Joan. And every time he used to go to the session, there was a lot of resistance on his part. I used to take part in the sessions too, and I used to feel very unhappy. And when I used to come out of those sessions, I used to feel, okay, I don't feel that Joan is taking much out of these sessions. Mm-hmm. He's so resistant. I also don't, intuitively, I thought that what was being done wasn't really what Joan needed. Mm-hmm. And I was very fortunate because this professional, after some time, she sort of, she did not give up on him, but she saw that Joan wasn't moving along. She saw that I wasn't very happy. I felt that there was, she wasn't getting the most, or Joan wasn't managing to give the most out of himself. And she just came up to me and she said, look, Elena, I don't think this is working. Let's try something else. I'm going to pass Joan on to my colleague. Let's see if with a different person, he reacts the same way. I think that at the time I thought that it was a great idea, but I also thought that in her mind, by doing so, she was trying to prove to me that it wasn't the problem wasn't necessary on Joan's part.
Right.
On her part.
Right, I get it. The teacher. It wasn't the teacher, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, the first session he had with the other colleague of hers, I can tell you, Andy, it was as if heaven had opened up. Joan, yeah, I could see Joan for the first time with the sparkle in the eye.
Yes.
And from that moment onwards, the sessions of psychotherapy were just blessings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was simply a change of one professional for another. For some reason, this professional, who was kind-hearted and a good heart, I'm not saying the contrary.
Sure.
The thing is, it just was not working between them both. And just the fact that she dismissed him and said, okay, I'm going to pass him on to someone else. Let's see if someone else can get through to him. And that was a remarkable change. So I think that sometimes we have to take risks too. And this type of therapy may not be working with one person, it may work with another.
Yeah. And that's, you know, the other point here is, you know, maybe she held some sort of belief that she couldn't get through to him. So if that's really her belief that's playing in the background, then, you know, he has said it more than once that if that's really what's happening, if that person doesn't believe that they can, that the autistic person can be successful, then forget it. They're not going to be successful. It's the level of expectation. So, and it may not even be conscious. It might not be conscious on her part, but somehow he's picking it up because he picks up on these things.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is something that happened at school too. It was very difficult times at school when Joanne used to go to school. There were also very difficult times, especially because João picked up on so many teachers that had belief systems that education for him was not worthwhile.
Yes.
It was painful for me many times for professionals and teachers asking me, what do you expect from your son? Do you expect him to go to further education? The most important for your son is that he feels happy. And I used to look at the teachers in the eyes and I said, but what makes him happy is learning.
Right.
And so you're telling me that I should remove from him what he likes best, which is learning. And you're telling him the most important things for him to be happy. There was a contradiction in what they were saying, but it had to do with their belief systems.
Yes.
When they used to look at the label, they did not look at the person.
Right, right. And, you know, thank God that so many nonverbal autistic people are writing books and getting online and sharing, you know, through typing or writing or letterboards or whatever they're doing. Thank God that we have access. I don't know where I would be without, you know, I got my hands on every book I could find written by an autistic person because I really wanted to understand what was going on. And it is so powerful to do that because then you can change your belief system because chances are, you know, you're buying into what society believes because we don't know any better. But thank God that we have information now that's helping us understand that these kids are really, really intelligent and capable. We just have to help in whatever way they need.
I also think that we as parents have to be more relaxed. I know that isn't easy. At least I was very stressed also along the way. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, what looks at us most of the times as if they are not picking up on anything and they are being aloof is not really what is going on. And I can tell parents is they are picking up much more than what we think. And my son is really an example of what is going on. So yeah. we have to trust the process. We have to trust the process. And we have to leave this open space, like João mentioned so many times, leave this open space where these children or any child can feel accepted and out of their acceptance surprise us.
Yes.
In many things and in many ways.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, and again, I'm so grateful that we have the constant reminder and that he's participating with us ongoing in this process because it's helping me a tremendous amount. And I have to tell you, I'm going to add something because of all the work, especially the work that we've been doing with the book recently, where I've just been so immersed in his teachings and his insights. So my son with autism, you know, my dog died yesterday and my husband took the boys last night and I was just in my hysterical state, you know, of sadness. And when I went to go see the boys this morning, my son with autism came up to me and grabbed me by the hand and looked me in the eyes, and he said, "I am so sorry that Abby died." Like, that would never have come out of him. And I just feel that, and that's just one example. I could give you another 5 examples of how our connection is getting closer, just purely from being immersed in all of this information and all of these insights and all of these reminders about, you know, how this process, this energetic process happens. So I just wanted to add that, because it really does work. So we're going to keep doing this, because we're going to pound it home to parents. We want you guys to get this, because it's really,
and
really.
I also think that what your son did this morning, as you said it, I think that is exactly on the same page as João and his message. And he just wanted, he talked to you, he accepted Abby's passing away. He knows exactly what's going on, and he's just holding out his hand and saying, yes, it's okay, Mom.
Exactly, because the energy of it, so he's the only one who really didn't get upset. My other 2 children are, you know, they're so distraught. And so this is going to be really helpful for me to share what he shared. And I've already shared with them that, you know, she's in heaven and, you know, all of that, but this will be very helpful too, if they understand that. So yay.
Thanks for sharing it. It was beautiful. And I really think they're on the same page.
Absolutely.
Our 2 children.
I know. And I am practicing now.
Perspective and viewpoint. We are not separated. Nothing is separate. We are all part of the whole.
Yes.
So Abby's just with us on another plane.
Right.
In another form.
Right. I get that. You know, so the other thing that I've been doing, you mentioned that my son is very similar to your son. So I've really been practicing on connecting with him telepathically, like, just, you know, I hate to use that word out loud because people freak out about it, but let's just say I'm connecting with him heart to heart, because I'm sending him love from my heart, so I can sort of communicate with him that way. I'm practicing it because I think that that's, like he says, João has said, it's a mode of communication that a lot of autistic people prefer. So if we start meeting them with their mode of communication, they're going to meet us with our mode of communication, that kind of thing. So also very good. All right, so let's go to the 3rd question. Okay, this is a good one. This is about difficulty sleeping. Why is my 12-year-old son having such difficulty sleeping? So a little more on that. My son's sleeping is not good. He wants to sleep in my bed, and I or my husband end up sleeping in his little bed. He wakes up during the night and makes a lot of noise. It's hard to sleep, even if he is in another room. Why is he having such difficulties? I have tried homeopathy to help with this and other issues, but I am curious to know what you feel is going on.
Okay, let's pass on to João's response. Dear Mom, you are blessed and very much loved. As for the sleeping issues, individuals with autism are often empaths and pick up on stagnant energy and limiting thought patterns, and also energy of fear. Clean your home energetically and all your energy fields. If you feel it, play the mantras Om and Om Mani Padme Hum. Let go of the ego, because the ego is based on fear and source is infinite love. Blessings, João Carlos.
So that is another really good point, and something that I've been practicing in my home, and that is to continuously clear the energy. I let one of the Om mantras. I chose 432 hertz, which I guess has, I don't know, the different hertz have different things. But it's really soothing. You guys should try this, you know, put on, you know, go to YouTube and put on, you know, I don't know the Om Mani Padme Om yet. I'm going to try that one next. I've just been doing the Om mantra, and it really
healing. It's the mantra of healing. The Om
oh,
okay. Yes, it's the mantra of healing.
So, you know, that would be a good one to put in my home as we mourn the passing of my beloved dog. So, you know, I will play that. But the other one has just it really has put me into just a more relaxed, more open, more peaceful state. I can't tell you how much I've felt it and how it's constantly playing in the background now. It just is. It just feels so good. So another fun thing to do.
Yes, I think this message also takes us back to the one we had before, when one said that diet is more than what you eat.
Yes.
We have to be careful, because these children are very sensitive, and if we are feeding on fearful thought patterns, we are very preoccupied or worried about something. If there are conflicts within the home, etc., or in the workplace or wherever, these children, they pick up on it. So we have to be careful and clean our homes also. We have to, I know João mentions that every day we have our personal hygiene. So we also have, in terms of energy, to clean our energy fields.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we have to make a habit out of, because these children, they have extreme sensitivity, and if they go to places where there is energy of conflict, argument, fear, etc., they pick up on it, and sometimes we don't know what is really going on, because they are too active, or they cannot sleep, etc., or they have nightmares, and sometimes it's all got to do with the stagnant energy or blocked energy within our homes. So we have to pay a lot of attention and clean our energy fields in our homes.
Yes. And if we do it and find something that just feels good. I do have my essential oil diffuser. I'll burn sage every now and then. I love this new, listening to the mantras. Just sort of mix and match whatever feels comfortable. It doesn't have to be with the, like the stress. Like, we don't want to add any more stress. Oh my God, I have to clear the energy of my home, because, I could see autism parents going, crazy like that. But just do it in the spirit of just feeling better. Like, you'll just feel better, and it's become such an enjoyable process for me. Like, I can feel, I'm much more in tune now with the energy of my home and myself, because I can feel the difference when I've, relaxed into something clearing versus, ignoring that.
Yes. And even the Epsom salt bath sometimes also help children a lot when it comes to calming them down. You can even add a few drops of lavender oil, and it helps them, and it helps us. When I feel a little stressed, or I'm feeling a little down, and I feel, okay, I did that yesterday. I said, okay, I think I need some clearing of my energy fields. I want to feel more relaxed, and I had a nice warm bath with Epsom salts and lavender drops.
Beautiful. That's great.
It's important that we look after ourselves, and once again pay attention to our body, the way, and emotions, the way we're feeling, because we'll get a lot of hints of what needs to be done.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And I think that is a really good segue into the next question, which has to do with anxiety. So this is, how can we reduce my 11-year-old daughter's anxiety? Now I'm gonna describe, I'm gonna read here the background. My daughter was diagnosed with ASD when she was 5. She is now 11 and receives ABA therapy at school in an intensive education class as part of their special ed program. She has speech, PT, and OT to help her language and motor skill deficiencies. Our biggest challenge is her anxiety, which can be brought on by one or more of several triggers: auditory processing difficulties. She's hypersensitive to sounds, especially the distress sounds of small children, and other sensory issues like tactile, texture, and oral defensiveness. In the school setting, her fear of being put on the spot when asked to do tasks that she's capable of leads to avoidant, non-compliant, and defiant behavior. Last year, almost all of our parent-teacher meetings were about behavioral issues. I used to get the same feeling that João mentioned. Her teacher seemed more intent on fixing my daughter or fitting her into conformity than on trying to understand her better. This year, we have a new teacher who struck me as being a compassionate person. Thankfully, my daughter is doing better with her, even starting to communicate and express herself. She seems to engage better with given tasks. I have also noticed that among family members, my daughter seems more comfortable around certain people than others. So my question is, can she really perceive intention of the person with her? As for myself, I notice she is calmer and more engaging when I'm more calm and relaxed. Not always easy to do given the everyday stress of our lives. How can I convince her of my own intention to help her progress towards independent living someday without coming across as too demanding? We certainly want her to be motivated towards improving her motor and language skills, but how can we expect this from her in a way that doesn't induce anxiety? So really good questions.
Dear Mom, thank you and blessings fall upon you, my dear mother. Your daughter is a beautiful and sensitive girl, and most of what you ask, you know the answers. Your daughter does pick up on the energy of people around her and on people's moods, and you yourself have ever observed that she mirrors your mood, feels those who are less accepting and more judgmental. At school, acceptance and tolerance are crucial so that she feels safe to risk new tasks. Individuals with autism many times are very insecure because their body does not always follow the command of the brain, but also because people fail to understand this and put pressure, increasing anxiety. What we should do is to soothe the person, let her grow in confidence by believing in her strengths and letting the person in her own time open to the task or project at hand. When you push, you encounter resistance, and when you surrender, you give space to surprise. Blessings, João Carlos.
Again, surrender. Stop pushing so hard at needing things to be a certain way. And, I like his suggestions too about, let her grow in confidence by believing in her strengths and letting the person in her own time open to the task. So again, that's just a complete, like a faith or a surrender that all is well, and that when you just get the heck out of the way, let the universe do what it needs to do. That's sort of what I take away from that.
Yes, and I also think there's an important point in this message is when João says your daughter does pick up on the energy of people, and that is absolutely true.
Yes.
Not only for this child, I went through the same thing. I can recall, and I still do. Sometimes I had difficulty with João being around certain people. Even the people on the outside, they looked very friendly, etc. But he did not want to be or to greet that person. And my message is we should respect them and not insist on the fact that they have. Just let it be. And when they feel less resistant for some reason or other, there is something that is stopping them or creating this resistance. Once again, let us not push it. They are probably picking it up from something else that the eye cannot see. So let's surrender, let go, and trust the process. That's something that I also learned. To do. So there are many things that we have to learn as parents. One other thing is when the mother says that she observed that the child mirrors the mood, I can say that once again, that is absolutely true. Many times I went through many phases, like we all do in my life. And when I was tended to be more depressed, with more lack of hope, with greater anxiety, am I doing the best? Is this going to be worth it all? I could see that reflected on my son.
Yes.
And what really worked was when I started working on myself, I flipped the coin to the other side of the coin. And when we calm down and once again we let go and surrender, which does not mean not doing anything. It's just trusting the process.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
then
I have had, yeah.
to start working out.
Yes. I've had so many life experiences of trusting the process where I was pushing and pushing and pushing. I'll give you a quick little story. I may have shared this before, but when I was looking for a house to buy, the house that I'm in now is in a, we moved to this school district because the special education department was so amazing, and we knew that we could get all the services we needed for our son. And, oh good, he's gonna write something. So,
We have to trust the process.
I know, I love it. So we moved to this school district specifically for the special ed department, but the district that we're in, the neighborhood is tiny. Like there's literally maybe 10 little blocks, and there's not a lot of inventory of houses to buy. So we were living in this house that we had been renting. And at this point we were renting the same house for 4 years. And I absolutely love this house, but the owners were never going to sell us this house. No way, we're not selling it. We love this house too. You can rent it, but we're not selling it. So opportunity came up when we sold a different property to buy something at the 4-year mark. And so I started looking all over the neighborhood. I've got to find a house. I've got to find a house. I looked at every house that was available. I tried to make it work. This one was too expensive, sale price. This one needed too much work. Like I couldn't make it work. And then finally we found a house that was in our price point, that was done up, and that had room for expansion. So I'm like, all right, this is it. This is the perfect house. We put bids on it, and then it got into a bidding war. And I was just like ready to pull my hair out. That's it. I literally said, universe, it's in your hands. Bring me the perfect house. I'm done. And 1 week later, the owners of this house called and said, we're ready to sell. And I was just like, are you kidding me? So that's just one example. I do that all the time now. Like I stop myself and say, am I pushing too hard? Because if I am pushing too hard, maybe it's time to stop. Same thing's going on with me finding a location for the school. Oh, I have to have that. I have to have that. I have to have that. Push, push, push. And then, roadblock. All right, universe. I did it just this morning. All right, universe. A better, more perfect property is coming my way. So it's a practice, but it does work.
I totally relate to what you're saying. And the same thing goes for me. So I can also tell you that worked out for me, but in relation to getting a new car. A few years ago, I wanted to buy myself a new car, but I used to think, okay, where am I going to get the money? How am I going to manage getting a new car? But then I sort of let it go, and I surrendered, and I said, okay. And I started visualizing myself in a visualizing and being relaxed and seeing myself drive a new car. And all of a sudden, after a few months, I did have a new car in my hands. It's sort of the universe puts you on the right path. You need to do the correct corridors, leads you to take the best decisions, to meet the people you need to, and things work out.
Yes.
And we have to trust the process.
Yes.
And our soul doctor, a little while, he came here and he gave me a kiss on the cheek. So I think he was telling us that we're doing well, and we're really putting through what he has to say. So I think he's telling us a good job.
Oh, good.
And he also wrote, we are on the same page.
Oh,
so
good.
Let us know that what he wrote and what we're here discussing is really how he feels.
Good.
So that
good,
was nice.
Good.
And we're also getting the soul doctor to
confirm.
Participate.
Yes. Awesome. All right, so let's do our last question. We've been going strong here. Why does my highly sensitive 13-year-old daughter have bursts of energy in the evenings? Boy, don't we know this all too well with a lot of our kids, maybe not in the evenings, but at different times. So here's the background. My children have not been diagnosed as being on the spectrum, but they are both highly sensitive. I have a question about my 13-year-old daughter and was hoping Joao could shed some light. My 13-year-old daughter, who is highly sensitive, has bursts of energy in the evenings, and I have been trying to figure out the pattern to learn the trigger and hopefully discover the root cause. In the evening, she has to physically move her body and does things like jump around, doing her cheerleading moves, such as the splits or high kicks. When she was younger, she would flop around on the bed excessively. I would be grateful for any insight that can help me support her and whatever may be going on.
Dear Mom, thank you for your question, and I do not restrict to answering questions on autism. We are one and part of the whole that is. Therefore, there are no drawers of them and us. Your daughter is a highly sensitive child, like so many more that are spread throughout the world. Yet people continue to view children with the lens of the past and being blind to the changes that these newly arrived souls are here to teach and show. Children nowadays are very much connected to their inner being and source, and have trouble behaving and conforming to patterns of former children. Your daughter is like a sponge and picks up energy and thought patterns that are stagnant or blocked, and she needs to shake this energy off her auric field. It is important for her to be in contact with nature, going for walks in parks or at the seaside to ground and release energy that does not serve a well-being. Blessings, Juan Carlos.
So that, again, is a really good reminder of our kids and their behaviors, right? So the jumping or the excessive movement, I know Joao jumps up and down sometimes. So just look at it as, well, two things. One, there's a reason for that behavior. They're doing something to clear something or soothe themselves. And number two, take a look at the environment. Okay, so what in the environment is maybe causing this type of behavior? And I'm sure you can always trace it to something. Either you're worried about something, you're fretting about something, you got in an argument with somebody, so it's a good reminder.
Yes, when it comes to João, he has already explained that sometimes he needs to jump, and he does jumping quite a lot. And he has explained in his writing that sometimes there is the need for him to feel his body. He feels
Yes.
His body is very stiff, very numb. So he needs to jump and or run to try and feel his body. I also feel that João tends to become far more energetic and unstable when he's nearer to having his seizure episodes, which he still hasn't overcome completely. So that happens too. And of course, he also picks up on fearful or mind patterns. So our children are very sensitive. They are like sponges everywhere they go, out in the streets, at school, in other contexts, and even ourselves, they pick it up. And sometimes, like he says, they also need to shake it off. And they have different ways of soothing themselves. So once again, whereas sometimes I used to tell João, okay, João, please stop it. You're making people fearful, or you shouldn't do that because that's not the behavior which conforms to what society expects of us.
Right.
I have also learned to relax. Okay, he needs this, and he's not doing anybody any harm. So if he wants to jump 2 or 3 times, just let it be, if he can be in a more relaxed state.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that we touched on this, I think last time. It's a lot easier for us to do that now because more people understand autism and they're more accepting. So they don't make us feel so bad and awkward and weird, So it's nice. Like I go out in public now with my child, and I'm actually, this is going to sound a little dramatic, but I'm actually starting to feel very proud of him because he has autism. I know that sounds like people are going to shoot me down for that, but I do because I know who he really is. And yes, we have challenges, and yes, we're going to, overcome those challenges, and I want him to integrate into society. But the beginnings of that, like being being proud of, and I know pride is the whole ego, but I can't help it because I just am so glad that he's who he is.
To the pride is you feel that our children are far more authentic.
Yeah.
They don't behave or they aren't as others expect them to be. They are very authentic and more truthful to themselves.
Yes.
Whereas we have been brought up to behave, to conform to what others expect of us. And many times there are many ailments and many depressions and many things we feel not so good about ourselves. And it's very much got to do with us having forgotten about ourselves, because sometimes we say yes to others and we are constantly saying no to ourselves. So once again, we have to listen to ourselves, and when we have to say a yes and when we have to say a no to ourselves, and when we have to say yes and a no to others. And I think autism is here to teach us that they are not here to comply or to conform to what we are, we want them to be. They are here to teach us something and to make us evolve. And when we evolve, of course, they will want to reach us too. Yes. And of course, like you're saying, say, Mom, I am sorry for what's happened.
Yes, yes.
They have a completely different perspective. So I can really understand I think that's what you're trying to say, Andy, when you say, I'm proud of his autism. You are, in your heart, you are filled with gratitude for all the authenticity that you feel in your son. Yeah. And I think that is something that we as parents of children of autism and also of other children have to fill our hearts with and look at our children with new mindsets and new perspectives.
Absolutely. And speaking of perspective, our book, Autism, A New Perspective, is coming out within these few days. If it's not out already, I'm waiting for Amazon to put whatever final touches. So Autism, A New Perspective, Inside the Heart and Mind of a Nonverbal Man. Joao and I wrote this book together, and of course, Helena did all of the editing and typing up for us. Really great book. I'm so excited about it. And we would love your feedback on it. So when you're able to get your hands on it, let us know what you think. And we will continue to do these Q&As. Stay tuned. In a couple weeks, we'll be up with Q&A number 5. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Joao and Helena. I love you guys so much. It's such a privilege to work with you.
Yes, it was great to be with you, Andy. It's great to have all these people following us. I can add to what you said about the book. As I reread those pages, I think it is very powerful. It is a book that people should really buy and look into it. If these messages that we have been sharing with them, if they relate to it, there is so much that so much information, new information to be picked up. So I'm very proud of all this work that you and Joao have been doing together. And there are always the consult if people want to have their questions look deeper on particular issues. So they can always book a consult with you and Joao. It's wonderful to be with you. Thank you for all the work we've been doing together.
And if you are interested in a consult, just go to my website, AndreaLabuti.com, and there's a consult button that you can click, and we'll get you hooked up in that. All right. Thank you, everybody. We are so grateful that you're here with us, and we hope you have a beautiful week.